We are here at Challenge Dubai. My name is Bob Babbitt. Our next guest, Mr. Tim Reed, who has been on a little bit of a roll, and I love the stash. Going, you're bringing out. Who are we talking about here? Little Burt Reynolds, you know.
I don't know. I was just a lot of the old trial
Tom
engines.
Selleck.
Yeah.
Oh wait, Dave Scott.
Yeah, Dave
yes.
Scott. Yeah.
Tinley.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, so you're channeling your inner big four.
Yeah, I'll take any channeling, any force I can get to gain an advantage. Yeah.
You know, it's funny because you were third at the Triple Crown race in Bahrain, and when we talked on the radio, you were talking about how this whole idea of the Triple Crown could change the way people prepare their seasons. Because it used to be that it was, October was it. Everybody focused on October, and you took your off season in January, February. But with these races, you might be thinking of June, July, or August as times to take downtime.
Yeah, absolutely. I know for myself, I'm looking at, instead of a big off season, I'm just going to schedule in 3 or 4 smaller breaks, and then try and build up to a peak, 3 or 4 times throughout the year. And I know a lot of guys are having to look at that because you can't turn down races like this. It doesn't matter if it's in the off season. When
more opportunity.
When there's cash up like that and great races and everyone else is racing, you want to be there. So you're totally right. It's changing the way people plan their whole season. Yeah,
the other thing is, I was just asking ZB, I just wanted to make sure I was a little confused on the $1 Million Challenge. Was it cumulative, or you had to win all 3? You have to win all 3. But it seems like that most people would still come to these races because the prize money is so good. Even if you don't win, if you take you're in top 5, and do that in all 3 races, you're taking home some big money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be complaining if I got 3 second places and missed out on the $1 million because you're still taking home great paychecks each time. So yeah, totally. I think it doesn't really matter who wins.
Yeah.
I still think everyone will come back for the next 2 races.
So since we saw you in Bahrain where you took 3rd, that was a great race. You've had a great January, February, right? You won a couple races, and what did you get, 2nd to Mikey at one other run at Rayler?
So November was 2nd to Mikey. At the Australian Championships,
yeah, that's right.
And then 1st at Auckland. So
and the
Asia Pacific
Championships. Yeah,
absolutely. It was a really good start to the year. I had a very small break over Christmas, and there's something about summer in Australia. I just get fit and enjoy the training because it's beautiful weather and everyone else is outdoors, and and so I got over to Auckland and I felt great, and it was one of those races where you're not hurting the whole day because you just feel absolutely in control, and that only happens maybe once or twice a season, and
right.
So I'd have to say it's probably unlikely it'll happen on Friday, but if it did, I'd be smiling the whole way again.
Well, it seems like the deeper the field, the better you like it.
I do. As you race more and more, you tend to stay pretty relaxed up until pretty much when the gun goes off. But once the gun goes off, I'll be racing along, and if I see someone like Javier or I'm riding next to Michael Rayler, I find that so motivating, and I feel like I do go up a gear compared to if I'm just racing a standard field.
So speaking of those 2 guys, Mikey won here in Bahrain, and he's a guy 2-time 70.3 world champion, and then Javier's won everything on the planet. Do you think about those guys going into the race and think about their strengths and where you want to be in comparison to them, or do you go, you know what, I just got to focus on me?
I think if the wind's up and the 20-meter draft rule is really enforced, I think most of your tactics, if it's going to happen, it's going to be more psychological. So,
right.
Because you're not gaining an advantage riding with guys like you would at the 10-meter draft rule. So, if I decide to really go past someone and do it hard or whatever it is, it's more to just give them a bit of a psych out,
Right,
and or just to mentally encourage myself. I want to get off the bike with Javier just to run with him for maybe a kilometre. So just to enjoy that. But there's lots of little things like that, tactics you could put into it. But I think they're more mental with the way the wind will be and the draft zones.
Have you raced Javi before?
I raced him at 70.3 World Championships.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I managed to, enjoy the first 2 kilometres of the run ahead of him, and then he came bounding by. Yeah.
So if it is howling out there, if it's windy out there, would you prefer that?
Yeah, I think so. I think for the guys that are, I'm used to pretty much riding my own pace on the bike, and I relish the windier conditions because for someone like Javier, I'm sure he's still splitting his training between the road bike and draft legal stuff and non-drafting, whereas we're totally dedicated to holding that steady state power on the bike. So I think the tougher the bike conditions, the more advantageous it'll be for the pure 70.3 half distance athletes.
Oh, you think about it. I mean, he's probably not spent that much time in the aero bars bucking headwinds by himself.
Yeah, absolutely. He probably only has to spend 20% of the time that other guys do.
Right.
to be pretty fit, but it's still a really different riding position. It's it's different. So we'll see what happens on Friday.
So are you committed to the Triple Crown no matter what?
I'll be at all three races.
All three races, yeah,
absolutely.
And what else for this season? Is this an Ironman?
Ironman will definitely be happening. I'm still working out whether to do Hawaii. With my points at the moment, I'd pretty much only have to finish an Ironman to qualify. But I really feel like I need to do more Ironman racing at a sort of a lower level, if you like, to learn how to race them. And,
right.
So I'm looking at maybe Ironman Arizona or something else, and then really target Hawaii for 2016.
But Arizona would be in November, and this would be, a challenge. So it'd be a challenge Bahrain, yeah.
So I'd roll off that straight into Bahrain, and it actually could work okay, but if provided I don't hurt myself too badly.
Back in the day, Australia was famous for really, the World Cup race. There was so many great races in Australia. There was a lot of good money back in the day. And now we're in an era, and it seems like there's more races again in Australia. But are most of the big prize money races outside Australia? You pretty much have to race outside to make a good living? Or has it changed?
I think it's changed. I think you can make good money. There's great challenge races. There's great 70.3 athlete races now in Australia. I feel like the quality has always been there in terms of the athletes, but now the prize money is pretty much matching the US. It's only the Middle East now that's really trumping both countries. So so I don't. Between the US and Australia now, I still like to race in the US. Because I've got a lot of US sponsors and I've grown to really love the country.
Right.
But if I was starting over, I'd probably just base myself Australia, Asia, and the Middle East, because you wouldn't have to go to the US like you used to.
Yeah, with Crowe and Mack and those guys, either they went to Europe and raced on a French or German team, or they came to the US. And it was the hard part was you couldn't just leave for a couple weeks. You pretty much, you're 19 and 20-year-old kid, you're leaving for 4 or 5 months because it's too expensive to fly back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of pros complain, but we're pretty fortunate now that if you're getting up there in most races, you can thankfully afford a trip to the States and back for a 3-week, for a 3-week block. And with a family back home, that's about my limit of time away. So, I'm lucky I still get to enjoy some of the great races in the US, but not be away from my family too long or drag them around with me.
So you've got a second on the way, and how has being a dad changed you as an athlete and just the way you look at things?
Yeah. I look at a hotel room and I just can't wait to have a full night's sleep. But it's obviously it changes everything. You suddenly you treat triathlon a lot more like a job. It's suddenly you've got a responsibility to make it work. Otherwise, it's just a selfish hobby. So I certainly
it's been my selfish hobby for 30 years. Yeah.
But you made it work.
I try it. Yeah.
It's the greatest thing. Obviously, anyone that's a parent will tell you the same thing. It's a great challenge, but you wouldn't change it for the world.
Right. Yeah. Tim, thanks so much, man.
Thanks, Bob.
Always appreciate chatting with you. Love the energy you bring to this. I just have a feeling the way this race is going to play out with the win that it's going to be a Tim Reed type of day.
Oh, thanks, Bob. I certainly hope so.
All right, Tim Reed has been our guest. Again, we are at Challenge Dubai. My name is Bob Babbitt. Hold on. We'll be right back.